always a difficult bit of this, starting the video, never really know how to start. Long time no speak to the camera. This is hopefully the first episode of a very exciting episode in my car's life. We are starting the 2ZZ project. I've got the head on my desk behind me, and this is hopefully episode 1 of sort of the bedroom build, I'm calling it, of the 2ZZ engine. What we're doing today, starting with the head. I've just got it mostly disassembled. Bits of it are all around the room around me, but I just want to get working on the valves. The engine came about because this one dropped a valve into the cylinder, bit of contact, cylinder 2, I think, looking from where I am. Dropped one of the intake valves, bent that, a little bit of gouging on the cylinder wall. I'm going to come up with a plan to fix that as well. But yeah, we're going to start with the head because that's more manageable, more easy, and also I don't fully understand how it goes together yet. I do know how to put the block back, so this will be the biggest obstacle, I think, aside from the bore damage, which will be in a separate episode. What we're going to do today, I've written out a short list of stuff. This isn't going to happen in one day because it's taken me ages. Basically, I've got to get the last of the valves out. I've got out 6 valves. 2ZZs have 16, so there is 10 more to go, and I don't think my tool's perfectly up to the job. But we're going to get them out, and then I'm going to take the whole head outside and just give the whole thing a clean. I'm going to clean all the ports on the inlet, exhaust, clean all the valve guides, clean everything. I'm then going to lap the valves. I'll talk about what that means. I've got a tool to do it. It's super cheap kit from Halfords, I think like £7. Just some wiggle sticks and some polish paste basically. But that is going to be a nice easy job to do. Then we're going to try and put everything back together. I have got a couple of service parts that I will go through as well once we bring it over to the desk. Stuff like valve stem seals, just things that you may as well do while the engine is out. And then we're going to hopefully check the valve lash at the end. This being an engine that came basically as a pile of scrap, I am missing a valve lash cap. It might be in one of my cardboard boxes, it might not be, but since we have to replace one anyways, I will go into more detail as we get to it. Basically, I will show you how to measure the valve lash, talk about what valve lash is and why it's important, and then hopefully make sure ours is perfect. So without further ado, let's get to the desk. Here's the engine. You can see, well, you can sort of see the 6 valves which are out. I've got 6 of the inlet valves out. All 8 of the exhaust valves remain. I will get some better lighting and stuff so that we can see them. But all we're gonna do is I've got this valve spring compressor. A bit of it just fell off. I'm gonna show you how to use this to compress the springs, pop the collets out, and get all your valves out of your engine. Okay, you're going to have to forgive this now, but it's time for a bit of freehand camera work. This is a valve spring compressor. There is a handle that goes in here as well. What you want to do to use this, you'll see they are threaded sort of sockets on there. On either end they are threaded. And these are sized to your valves. So we're going to find a valve that we haven't taken the spring off yet. We'll go with this one here in cylinder 4. That actually I think is cylinder 1, but I'm calling it cylinder 4 for now. All you do, you take this socket piece and rest it on there. There is a bit of threading required, so you have to get this one inside the engine, like so. Loop it around. Make sure you've wound the whole thing up enough that then this can clear. Obviously I need to unscrew that a bit, so give me one moment. Okay, thread sorted. So you can place this small one atop your valve spring, and then this bigger one will line up with the valve. You want that as central as possible to ensure that you are compressing your springs nice and straight. Right, now this is pretty much impossible to get a good angle at just because of the desk I'm working on. I can't damage the desk. But what we've done is we've got the valve spring compressor aligned as such. So we're sitting on the valve spring, retainer, and then on the valve at the bottom down here. Just insert a little handle thing, and we're going to twist it counterclockwise. You're going to have to look for the collets, and I will show you them in just a minute. But what I'm going to do is turn counterclockwise and hold the socket in place so that we're just compressing, we're just turning the threads. You want to be very careful with the valve socket piece to not let it ride across any bearing surfaces, any smooth surfaces where the cams might run, etc. Just because you can start to damage things, you'll put a little lip on them. Right. That pop, if you heard that, hopefully you did. I'll try and put a replay in it as well. That is our collets coming loose. So I'm just going to wind this down a touch further for easier access, and then I will show you how to remove the collets, which is not an easy job. Here's the compressed spring. I'm trying to get some lighting on it for you. You will just about be able to see some collets inside there. If you look at the next valve over, it's the smaller inner piece. I'll try and put an arrow on the screen, but we've got to pop them out. Now this is not an easy job to do, especially one-handed, and also this tool requires a bit of finagling. But what you want to do, I'm using a magnetized screwdriver, and you can gently lift out each collet one by one. There's 2 for each spring. Some of them you do have to fish them out quite heavily. It takes a bit of time, a bit of finesse. See, this one's slightly wedged, so I'm going to have to just manipulate my tool in ways that it probably shouldn't be manipulated. But 2 minutes and I'll show you what to do next. Lift this end over. Oh my goodness, what have I done there? There we go. This end over. I don't know why that's so much more awkward. I've managed that 6 times already now. Pop that down, and you can now pull your valve spring out. Do keep them organised. I've got a labelled piece of cardboard. And then in a nice clean engine, you can extract 1 valve. Just for the sake of comparison, this one's a straight valve, and this one is my bent valve. Can you see what's gone wrong there? That's not meant to be like that. It's all bent down here. So this one I need to find a replacement one for. Struggling to find one single valve. And for the time being, guys, I'm just storing the valves inside the engine. They will be held in place by the stem seals. Safest thing to do. But we will get a good clean. What I'm going to do, I've got to remove the remaining 9 valves. I might try and do a time lapse, might not. You guys will just have to see. Cool, so that is all 16 of our valves out. It is actually a new day. I went away, got frustrated as usual, woke up, knew how to use a valve compressor a lot better. So when I was doing the inlet valves, unless I'm mistaken and the springs are way stronger on the inlet side, I was just winding the compressor down too far. So I found with the exhaust valves, I was just winding it down maybe just over a turn, and then giving the spring compressor a little wiggle, and that would sort of pop the collets free, and then it's a lot easier. You just manipulate the valve spring compressor side to side, again being very careful of any of your friction surfaces to make sure you're not riding the socket along any of them, and then the collets just pull straight out with my little magnetic torch screwdriver tool, which is not ideal, but it does do the job. I'm going to laugh about it now. These springs are going to be a lot harder to put back in than they were to take out, but hopefully you guys will get to watch me struggle through that one too. Did also find that this engine clearly had an oil leak on the exhaust side doing that, but that's cool. So I've just been along, I've just pressed all the valves gently. They all pop out nice and freely, so I will flip the engine over, or the head over rather, pop them all out, and then we'll start working on getting these valve stem seals out, because I've got replacement ones, so we may as well replace them while we're here. Alright, so I'm just popping the valves out. You can see from here this head has been nicely skimmed. That's why the surface is so nice and flat. That's also why I've been looking after it so much. I have been using this foam, and I just make sure it's always free of any metal shavings and stuff, but even if there are any, dropping the head back down to the surface will be nice and flat. But to get the valves out, all I've done is I'm just pushing them from one end, push them through, and then you can pull them straight out. They will slide out nice and easily. And I'm only saying this because this engine did drop a valve on this cylinder here. And so I've just been checking the valve guides, and the way you do that, you literally just put the valve most of the way in, give it a wiggle all around, and there should be zero play all the way around. But we're just pulling them out, and then next step, we will give these a clean and a lap. The person I bought the engine from said the valves have been lapped. This surface, the exhaust valves could have been lapped. I mean, the block looks nice and the head, sorry, looks nice and clean, like it's lapped. But on the inlet side, I'm really not convinced. And on the inlet valves as well, there has been some buildup of moisture. You won't be able to see it here yet, but there is just some rust around there. So I want to get that all polished off. So I will show you how to do that next. Just a quick bit of reference for you guys. I am keeping everything organised, intake and exhaust ways. These are all laid out on my windowsill. Just ignore all the other stuff going on. Sneak peek at the Hot Wheels loose collection there. But this engine has obviously run for about 80,000 miles is what I think is the mileage on the head. So I want to just make sure with each valve, you can just see the rusty ones there with some moisture's got in. This isn't a problem, this will all polish off. But I want to make sure with each valve that goes back into the engine, it's paired with the same spring, same keepers, same lash caps, and just keep it all organised. Okay, so valve stem seals. I've got these two off. The valve stems on the 2ZZ actually seem to be very stout. The last time I did this on a different engine, these were really thin metal. Normally you want to be very careful to avoid bending them when you're taking them off with needle nose or anything, but these seem to be nice and strong, so I'm happy with what I'm doing. This is definitely a big hack, and I can't say I recommend it to anyone. But the way I've been getting them off is I've been taking the rounded edge of I think it's a 9mm spanner, and just going underneath and just levering them up very, very carefully around the edge. It doesn't take too much force, so you're not risking anything on these where the valve springs sit. This surface here isn't a mating surface anyway. The spring goes inside, but just very carefully working my way around, watching where the spanner goes on any friction surfaces too, so make sure you're not riding on where your cams go, etc. But just going around giving it a wiggle, and eventually, once it's been wiggled enough, I've been able to pull them off with my hands. I am popping out in the evening, so I may try and acquire a pair of needle nose, whether I borrow them off a mate or steal them from work, something. That will make the rest easier. But for now, I'm just going to crack on doing it this way. And then I have been checking with these stems to make sure the valves still go up and down freely and aren't being moved around. But as far as I can tell, they're all fine. Got these two out. These are two of the inlet stem seals. They do, I mean, to my eye, they look a bit worn. I'm not an expert though, I don't really know what a worn stem seal looks like. They don't look like the ones I've got in the bag. They're the same size, but they definitely look tired. So we'll keep going, we'll pop all these out, and then we'll get to giving the head a nice deep clean. I'm sorry, just a bit of misinformed nomenclature there. These are your valve guides, not your valve stems. Valve stems are obviously the stems of the valves, the straight bits. It's one of these two is the bent one. I believe it's the one on the right. It's where this bent valve's going up and down. As you can see, the damage is at the very base of the stem, so I'm sure the guide is fine. I will just double check though this one. It'll be easy to inspect for any sort of visual damage now that I've got lighting once I've got this stem seal off. Okay guys, so it's been about a week since I've really made much meaningful progress on the head. I've cleaned maybe 6 of the inlet valves nicely. I've also lapped 6 of them too. I just wanted to make sure I knew how to do it well before I started making a video on it, because I'm tired of making video clips where I do something wrong and then I have to make another clip of me doing it right. But it is coming along. I just wanted to make a little outro just so that you guys know something is going on with this head. Current state of affairs: I've stolen some used go-kart tyres from work. They're just so that I could have it rest upside down, because the spark plug tubes are press fit and I don't want to pull them out, and that's so I could continue to work on the bottom of the head, get the valves lapped. These are the ones along here that have been lapped. I've also cleaned up the combustion chamber just while I was down there. Again, a bit of Brillo pad, bit of degreaser, a bit of electric toothbrush action, WD them to prevent any corrosion. But yeah, the new valve is on its way with its lash cap. When that arrives, I will hopefully have the motivation and time to lap them. I'll make a good video on that. I'll show you just how to do that, and then we will make one video of assembling the head, because once they're lapped, everything can go back together. I can fight with my silly spring compressor again 16 times and then get everything else mounted. There will be a couple of small tidbits, like that's a VVTLI solenoid. There's a little mesh filter in here that I'll quickly pop out and try and very briefly show you how to clean, just to make sure that VVTLI goodness works optimally. But yeah, that's just an update for you. I'm really getting quite excited about getting this engine going. It feels a bit more real now, just with my current state of affairs. And yeah, hopefully there's a lot more video to come. So thank you very much, and hopefully you will hear from me very soon. See you around.